Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, Russian, Russia, the Russians.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots. Their vote is under what they thought they needed. Dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. Hope you guys are having a fantastic start to Trump's presidency. I know I am. Brittany Bright, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little sick and tired, but that's just gonna be, I think, life from now on.
Yeah, I was going to say you look a little sickly and tired, so I was kind of expecting that answer.
Yeah, still fighting the homosexuality off, keeping it at bay.
That's good.
But
Not
always
succeeding.
trying to get you.
Not succeeding, but
Yep. It's the fight that counts. It's the struggle.
You're trying. Yeah, you get used to that though, kids.
Yeah.
Man, I'm exhausted too. It's life.
I was remarking in the chat that I've got the baby cam, of course, as you do, and it's in black and white, right? And Mrs. Bright is already kind of freaky, but when you see her on that, you're like, there's no chance she's in a good mood. You can't look like you're in a good mood with like glowing eyes on a trail cam. It's like a wildling trying to sneak across the northern border.
Wait till the baby discovers the camera and like because usually there's a little like red light right under the camera, and when the baby discovers that, they like stare at it, and it looks like the baby's looking into your soul. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, man, we do have plenty to talk about. It is funny. I saw your post. It's like we don't really discuss what we're going to talk about before the show because there's just so much. We do have a couple topics lined up.
Not even worth it.
Yeah, we do have some topics lined up, and it should be a good show. There's plenty of devolution-y things, from the drones being resolved. That was pretty devolution-y. The Gitmo situation, the denuclearization. Even though we talked about that a little bit on Saturday's show after I interviewed Quast this week and the Iron Dome, and I got a text from somebody I want to read. It's pretty interesting. And then
I enjoyed Quast's responses.
Yeah,
he's very skilled, our general.
Yeah, and he definitely
knows
didn't
how
tell
to
us.
give his answers.
He definitely didn't tell us everything, obviously, but there's only so much he can say from the field he's in. But there's the text I want to read. I'll read some of it. I should probably get permission first.
There is, I don't know if you saw my note right before the show, but right before the show, there is breaking news out of Reagan Airport.
Yeah, I did see that. There was a helicopter that crashed into a passenger airline, like supposedly anywhere from 70 to 80 passengers. And so they're doing a search of the Potomac River, I believe, pulling people out. I think I saw 4 people have already been pulled out. It's pretty tragic. You don't see that very often, if ever.
And obviously this is like, never mind 72-hour rule, 72-minute rule with something like this. We have no idea really what happened, why it happened, how it happened. Of course, in the environment that we're in, it's been a very positive start to Trump 2.0. For us, for MAGA, for the American people. I would not say the same thing for the establishment. And I don't blame people for their minds immediately going to what the hell is going on here, right? You just said it's very rare that it happens. And
it's DC. Like what if somebody's flying into that airport for stuff for tomorrow or whatever? I mean, I don't know. It's just, that's sketchy.
The other thing that popped into my head, and we have no idea what happened. I'm of two minds of some of the Hannity-isms. Like I had Fox on during the inauguration, watching the baby, had the in-law down and everything. And
whoa. You were watching Fox during the inauguration?
At night, the ball thing.
We covered the ball thing.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't see you cover the ball.
You are now in the doghouse. You are in the doghouse now by both me and Mrs. Bright.
Okay. Well, anyway, I had it on, and it must have been 5 times on the broadcast Hannity mentioned like terrorist attacks within the U.S., and then yesterday he was going on and on and on about terrorist attacks, and then with the Pete Hegseth hearings, terrorist attacks, and it's like, I get it, this is the narrative and everything, but there's a certain amount of that I don't love when it almost gets to the point where you're cheerleading or where something is going to happen. He kept saying like it's a matter of when, not if, and I don't know, just strange environment right now, strange socio-political environment with the border situation, deep state freaking out, DC, as you said.
Yeah. And, it brings me back to those posts that Ezra Cohen Wadnick has done multiple times, like the foreign, can't remember the word, it's not terror, but like how many Iranian foreign, military groups, special ops groups are in our country.
Right.
I do think I saw that it was a police helicopter, which you would think would make the chances of it being a terror attack a little less likely, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. This is the period of time where you're going to see, I don't know what's real and what's not.
Yeah, but we'll give it some time, and we'll get the news surely over the next couple of days of what went down, and yeah, just pray for those people.
Yeah.
Pray for all involved. It's never a good thing. But do
And
you have the ad reads pulled up by chance?
I can get them.
Because I have to run grab my phone charger, and so I'm gonna have you read Mid-Atlantic while.
So unprofessional.
Yeah, I was gonna grab it, but I forgot.
Our friend David Becker.
Ready?
Can we start there?
Yep.
All right. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? For over 30 years, David Becker and his son Jesse of Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance have been helping small businesses and individuals get the best possible PPO coverage at affordable rates. Working with private carriers allows year-round enrollment opportunities to save money and get the best possible insurance. The cost of medical insurance can often be like a second mortgage payment, so it's understandable that some people try to cut corners to save money with HMOs or MediShares. They're called MediShares because the member shares the liability of other members' claims. HMOs only cover in-network charges and leave an unlimited liability in the event of a large claim. There are proven ways to get the lowest possible rates without sacrificing coverage. And if you're stuck paying for your own insurance, why not give David and Jesse a call to see if they can help you too? Call to get a free quote, 609-577-8557, or visit badlandsmedia.tv/Becker, 609-577-8557, badlandsmedia.tv/Becker. I don't know if we will see David in Vegas, but I think we should.
I believe he'll be there. He usually is. I'm gonna pull something up here from about the crash. I just saw this posted. I want to see.
Yeah, is it the thing I saw said Army Black Op helicopter, but
yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen.
The helicopter and the plane crash.
Okay, so this is a Bill Walsh TV. Don't know. Apparently a 4-time Emmy-winning television personality. Good for him. I've only won 3 times, so. But ATC audio from DCA Tower. American Airlines confirmed 60 passengers and 4 crew. Army Black Hawk it collided with was a PAT-25, an Army transport helicopter on the approach end of runway 33 at DCA, Reagan National Airport. The PAT helos are gold top, used for VIP transport. Seen many times at Joint Base Andrews. That's concerning. Let me read this or listen to this.
Fire command. The accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33.
Is the airfield closed?
Yes, the airfield is closed. The airfield is closed.
Runways as well?
Yes, all runways are closed. Nobody's landing. No one's moving at all.
And we have clearance across all taxiways and runways, correct?
Yes, you have clearance through the whole field, all taxiways and runways.
Yeah, I can already see Chris Paul in one of our chats being a little skeptical. Says Cybertruck Bomber 2.0. There were 17 bodies recovered. We better find out what position the helicopter pilot's niece priest played in high school basketball. Kind of making fun of people that like dig super into it, you know?
Yeah, I was just about to say before we did the sponsor, when I say 72-hour rule these days, or even 24-hour rule, it's not that I think we're going to have all of the truthful answers of what happened, nor that we'll be able to verify those answers or details, as Chris would say. It's more that I'm interested in what the narrative Donald Trump and that side of things push in the aftermath of this versus what is the narrative that is pushed by the mainstream media. That's why I bring up, terrorists. You said like Iranians. Who knows? It's just going to be interesting to see if and when Trump and team comment on it. Are they just going to say, "Oh, this is a tragedy that this happened," or is there going to be another layer to the story here? Whether or not we can ever verify it, it's more pertinent to us of how they would push something like this if there's anything to push. Either side.
Yeah, we'll see. Just don't jump to conclusions. See what happens. See what gets reported on. See how Trump addresses it. See how credible people address it. Because much like the drone story, there were some not so credible people telling you that we were being invaded by drones from Iran and a ship off the coast of Iran. There were people telling you that they were sniffing nukes. And I think even me and Zach explored that one on Baseless Conspiracies. I think we debunked it. But people are going to shill quite a bit. It happens. But this is another example of them kind of being proven wrong. And so I'm going to play a clip and I'm going to show you a post from one of our good friends, Joe Lang, who I think you said has a feature coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, let me double check that it's tomorrow. But if you guys have not been following Joe Lang's writing on the Badlands Substack, it is tomorrow. America for Sale Part 2 comes out.
Nice.
Let me see.
You got some money to invest. America for Sale.
Yeah, exactly. Joe did the whole School of America series on the Badlands Substack. You can read through those, all about the Bush regime and the Iran-Contra crisis and all that kind of stuff. About the America for Sale series he's doing, it's all about everything from Benghazi to the Clinton crime family to the Obama administration and how it ties into Trump and the Q drops. It's some good stuff. It's some good eating. So go to the Substack.
But yeah, so the drones, for those who weren't familiar or living under a rock this entire last year, there were a bunch of drones over New Jersey, the East Coast, and at first nobody knew what was going on. And I don't even remember the timing of this. Was this December? I think it was December, early December, maybe late November. I'm not even sure. But drones everywhere. And Trump was kind of commenting on it shoot them down. If they're not ours, shoot them down. If we don't know whose they are, shoot them down. The Biden administration wasn't being forthcoming with information about whose they were. They were kind of denying they were ours at first. And then they're like, oh, well, I think they're kind of ours. It was just nobody knew what the hell was going on. Trump said he was going to release a report on this at some point. And finally, in the first press briefing for Carolyn Levitt, who, yes, guys, I did see that they're accepting applications for people to join the press room. We're not going to do it, though. We need them to apply to us, to ask us to come. No, just
we're going to run our own press room where we're going to stream this press room, and we're going to take questions from you guys to text to them. Yeah,
we did apply, and I know multiple people individually applied. I applied for Badlands as a whole. Everybody else was super selfish and was like, I'm just going to apply for myself. Whatever. But no, we did apply. I doubt we'll get access. It's going to end up being people like Alex Jones and Tim Pool and Steven Crowder and all the douchebags who don't talk about election fraud. So, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful we get access. We'll see. But anyway,
I don't know if John liked my idea. I did want to show the audience my genius idea to get you in there, in case there's any kind of in case they're trying to keep the Devo theory out. I'm thinking, whoever's got some stout legs. Actually, this isn't going to work because you're the one who has to be on the bottom of the trench coat, and you got those skinny little calves.
I got good legs, bro. I've been doing calf raises.
All right. What about the squats? You on the squat game?
I can squat a solid 250, 300, 350, depending on the knees.
Let's get a training montage going, and we'll see who we put on your shoulders. Maybe Ash. We'll throw Ash or Ghost. Ghost kind of like squirrel-like. Ghost could climb up there. He seems nimble.
He's tiny. Too.
Yep. So, anyway, this is how we smuggle John in.
I'm okay with that. If he gets hurt, I think we're okay with that.
This is also how we're going to get John into the Kash Patel hearings.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Should be fun. The RFK ones were crazy. I don't know if you watched any of it. Got some great sound bites. I didn't even put them in here.
I saw some clips, yeah.
Yeah. These people are insane. But tomorrow's hearing with Kash Patel is going to be absolutely nuts. But anyway, let me play this clip. This is about the drones. This is what she said.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. And before
this was not the enemy. All right, now we got this from Mr. Joe Lang, and I love this interpretation of it. Am I the only one who thinks that Trump's press secretary's answer to the drone story is actually more proof of devolution, in quotes? Carolyn Levitt said that drones were FAA approved. That means this. Most likely, they were our military or a military contractor, several of which are developing a drone defense system. Is this the new missile defense system that Trump says is coming? It's possible. But is it another devolution proof? The Pentagon under Biden said they didn't know anything about it, and I bet they didn't. I bet they didn't know a lot of what the military was doing over the last 4 years. The entire Biden administration didn't know what was happening at all. The story made them look like idiots again. It's just an absolutely great take because based on how it played out and based on what she said about it, and I'm going to take what she said about it with a grain of salt too. Like it was probably not as innocent as she made it seem. There's definitely more to that story, but that's like something you would say if you just want, like, we promised we're going to tell you what it was. This is the most innocent explanation we can give you to get you to stop asking questions about it. And hopefully you'll be satisfied and keep talking about immigrant criminals and stuff and H-1B visas. So, but based on what she said, this is pretty devastating.
It's actually funny. Last night, Chris and I did Iron Man, the original Iron Man, and we were laughing because there's the scene when he accidentally takes out like the F-22 Raptor with the Iron Man suit, and it flashes to Rhodey, his best friend, who's in the Air Force, and Rhodey's like, what do I tell the higher ups? And he's like, just do that training exercise BS. Tell them it was a training exercise. He's like, nobody's gonna believe that. And then it hard cuts to him at the press conference, and he goes, an unfortunate training exercise or training incident. But that's kind of what's going on here with Levitt. Like this is a training exercise. Like you said, I mean, that might be a very broad blanket true. And if there is defense implications here, it makes sense to me that they're not going to be like, well, here's what we're doing exactly. But that said, I thought that not only are the Devo takes great from Joe, on a macro to Normieville, I think that this was kind of a devastating narrative deployment by Levitt and by the Trump admin, just for the simple comparison game. They didn't have to give the audience or the press these intricate details of what was going on, but they are seen by both the press and the public as just answering the question, right? Like, hey, what were these things? They were not the enemy, right? Like, even with that, even just saying that, she is addressing, or the Trump administration is addressing, the core concern, which is why this became this giant mimetic stupid story over the course of months. And the Biden administration, meanwhile, they didn't even make anything up. Like, at least lie to us. And they just had nothing. They just said nothing the entire time.
I think my favorite take on what this was actually came from Alex Jones. And by favorite, I mean like the stupidest. But it was interesting because he said they're using drones to pretend to be the enemy so that as it leads up to Trump's inauguration, they can use this as an excuse to use wartime powers to implement continuity of government. That's what he said in the show.
Bitch. He's trying to get. I never saw that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I can show you that clip.
Is it also how they're turning the frogs gay via drone?
I don't know. I think just listening to Alex Jones turns whoever's listening, including the frogs, gay. But yeah, it's just interesting, and I love the take, especially that he brought up the Iron Dome. Is this Trump's thing of the Iron Dome? If you guys haven't watched my show yet, the Daily Herald, weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. What?
None of them have seen it.
Yeah, probably not many of you heard of it. It's a great show. I try to get as much news as I can. I just like fill up my browsers with stuff I want to talk about, and then once I'm done, I'm done. So no matter what, it never goes over an hour. today's only like 50 minutes, but the other day I had General Quast on, and we were talking about Trump's Iron Dome executive order, and he had some very interesting answers about this. I'd encourage you to go watch. But I got a text tonight. I'm not going to read it word for word, but I'm just going to talk about it generally. There's one thing I do want to say that I'm going to read word for word from there. But this guy texted me, said he sent the episode of me and Quast to his friend, who's a defense guy, and he's working on this stuff having to do with the Iron Dome right now. And he said, like, oh, they're right on some things, wrong on some things. But the key phrase was, let me read it here. Trump is using, you're going to love this. Trump is using Iron Dome as branding because it's far more complex than Israel's Iron Dome, but people can wrap their head around it. Think Reagan and Star Wars. So if you guys talk about this on the episode, the Star Wars stuff from space. And one of the most fascinating things that I thought came in that executive order was the talk of basically destroying missiles before they even leave like the launch tube, before the propulsion is even engaged and it takes off. That's like the ultimate form of denuclearization that Trump is talking about, where what's the point of even having nukes, man? If anytime you try to shoot it, I can just shoot it while it's in your silo and it's only going to affect you. The amount of intelligence you would need to have that, and the technological capability to be able to pull that off as well, like from shooting it from space or whatever, the space lasers, fascinating. But that coincides with, even if it's just a narrative, this entire thing, the Iron Dome is just a narrative, a story that's being told of how we're going to protect ourselves from nukes, and then Trump's going to also denuke the world. So what's the point of even having an iron shield if that's your ultimate goal and whatnot? It's just interesting that they included that wording in that executive order.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved that General Quast used the word narrative as well, because, like you said, it works on both levels. It works on, I often say that just because you're saying something is a narrative or a story doesn't mean you're saying it's fake, right? Real things, actuals, have narratives associated with them, and false things have narratives associated with them. With the Reagan example, the Star Wars example, I think that's a really interesting way to play this, because one of the terms I use a lot is narrative translation layers. Like, a lot of what we're looking at is real things. Real things are happening on some level. It's very difficult, if not impossible, for us to discern what is actually going on at any given time. The reason even tonight that I say I'm waiting for Trump to deploy a narrative on the back of the helicopter collision, it's not because I'm sitting here waiting for the God King to tell me what happened. It's not that I'm just going to take that as gospel. It's that it's going to allow us to infer directionally what happened here, right? It will broadly allow us to see, are they playing this as if it was an accident, or are they playing this as if it was not an accident? It can be very broad. So with the Iron Dome deployment, I agree with that. And when you say denuclearization, I wrote an article back in May 2024, Amerigeddon. It was all about a lot of the stuff that Chris and Patrick talk about when it comes to nuclear weapons, and your theories. Your mileage may vary on whether or not you think we actually dropped atomic bombs, etc. But it is this pincer, or this it's this trap where I think we're going into a new nuclear energy age. The one that the whole premise of that article was that we were supposed to go into this in the advent of the Kennedy era, following Eisenhower, and with the death of Kennedy, we pivoted hard right back to fossil fuels. And then we got 3 Mile Island, and obviously before that we had Hiroshima, and we had Chernobyl. We had these massive actuals or narratives that demonized nuclear energy. So to your point, how can we move into a nuclear energy future that Trump is talking about and funding? And by the way, his Department of Energy pick, Chris Wright, is a leading figure in the small modular reactor industry for the proliferation of nuclear energy to like everybody.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But how do you get there without people freaking out about weaponry? And maybe it's an actual, or maybe it's a narrative of, hey, we've all got Iron Domes now, so you don't have to worry about those nukes. Like, we've got it, Russia's got it, China's got it. That means any nuke, really, by what you said about how it supposedly works, where it doesn't even take off from the launch pad. Ostensibly, this means that if the world's superpowers have this Iron Dome technology that Trump is talking about, there'd be no believable way for a nuke to take off anywhere targeting anyone worldwide.
Well, especially with AI where we're at now and where it's going. Exactly. I mean, if you thought computer hackers were good, right? Just like Cybercom, these people in basements hacking things and breaking into foreign powers and doing all these things. AI is going to be able to hack a computer way better than anybody else could ever imagine. I mean,
right.
Technology with that stuff. And that's where it's going to get interesting. Like we talk about next generation of warfare, not even being, you know, a cyber level. It's like our AI versus your AI. But that's another way you could stop a missile from taking off is hacking it and whatnot. That's what I'm more worried about is who develops
Iron Man as well.
Who develops like the best AI, and it's an arms race. And Trump signaled how important this was day 2 when he brought in the big investment from Larry Ellison, Sam Altman, and then the DeepSeek stuff that's going on, which I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit. We haven't really discussed that much on any of the power hours yet. So if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. First of all, I love how Chris has been talking about this a lot. I really think that he's onto something, and he was kind of sniffing it out early when it comes to Trump deploying Sam Altman and Larry Ellison, etc. You know, I'm not going to demonize Larry Ellison. Like I don't know. I mean, we don't know who holds the strings of these figures. We just know that Trump deploys these things for a reason. But Chris, you know, Sam Altman is not a well-liked guy. He is not a trusted guy. For anybody who doesn't really know some of the details of Altman, former business partner of Elon Musk, massive, very public falling out between the two. Elon can't stop talking shit about him. And hey, you could think it was kayfabe, and I've played with that idea, but it's worth noting that OpenAI is a closed source protocol. It's kind of a joke in the tech sphere because everything Sam Altman says he represents is the opposite. Now, Chris floated the idea that before the DeepSeek thing, Chris was saying Trump is setting these guys up for a rug pull. And then the Chinese release an open source AI protocol, allegedly release an open source AI protocol that is as good or better than OpenAI, ChatGPT, and that allegedly, all of these allegedlys, is running on lower energy by orders of magnitude. The reason that you can be skeptical of every single piece in that actual chain, and yet Donald Trump took that chain, that narrative chain, and deployed it and said, I hope this is a wake-up call for our industries. So personally, I see this as a sovereign alliance comm, an international Devo sort of deployment where Trump is using we've got a meltdown happening.
I heard the baby. Yeah. Is that baby or Kristen?
Right? No, it could be her. We never know. Yeah. Anyway, finish that thought. I just can't help but see, like, Chris is saying that Altman and this OpenAI thing is going to get rug pulled, and then a couple days later, the Chinese rug pull it, and Trump is like, man, those dastardly Chinese, we better up our game over here. I see this as narrative permission, personally, for Trump to accelerate us, maybe using the DoD's biggest defense contractor, who's working on his own little AI stuff, into a competition with the Chinese. And my opinion on that is that it's disclosure. I think that we have these AI. I think the DoD has AI that blows anything Sam Altman has out of the water. And how do you disclose that while making it seem organic? This arms race with China, I think, is how.
Yeah, and there's just so many weird things in the story. I mean, OpenAI is accusing DeepSeek of using their code. Like, you guys cheated and used our code to make your AI open source or something. And then there's multiple reports from different sides of the story of whether there's more GPU or less. Nobody has an answer, because you could totally see China saying they're using less, but not. And it totally rugged the market on this whole thing. But what's most interesting, I think, about all this AI stuff is it really just between the United States and China? Like, is there any talk of Russia having AI? I mean, They're very militarily focused. They know the future. Putin's not a dumb guy. They have energy there. Like, why are they not? Why is there no word of their AI, like Putin.ai or something? What about Saudi Arabia?
Sputnik bot.
Yeah. What about Israel? Like, there's none of these other countries in the AI arms race at all.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. But that's why on the back of this AI stuff and even the denuclearization talk, this is relevant. I'll just bring this up now. I thought that maybe I'm being retarded, but I think this is connected. I think it's really interesting that the media is seeding this. So this was Reuters yesterday. Exclusive images show China building a huge fusion research facility. Now, I want everybody, guys, don't get too scared. But there's very scary words here. Like, here's the laser bay. Here's the target chamber building. It even kind of like, if you just put a little line here and a little line here, you'd have, are these Chinese Nazis?
Looks like a
Chinese
windmill.
nuke Nazis?
And
the whole...
That could be anywhere. How do I know that's China?
We
that
don't,
could be
but...
North Dakota, for all I know. I've seen a building layout in North Dakota like that.
The reason I thought it was significant is I'm like, okay, so in back-to-back days, we've got this Chinese AI bot accelerating into the future, and Donald Trump's going like, we got to catch the Chinese. They're beating us at AI. And then the next day, we've got Reuters being like, the Chinese are going far ahead of us when it comes to nuclear energy, and we can't let that happen. And fusion, which is, it's not theoretical, but in terms of deploying fusion energy, that's theoretical still. It hasn't really been deployed. It's all fission energy. So again, in my opinion, we're looking at the beginnings of a 2025 kayfabe narrative. We're going to get trade war 2.0, except it's not going to be trade war Trump versus China. It's going to be the new space race. Because the US and Russia, remember, we had the space race. That's why trending the last couple days, you had Sputnik moment trending, where the space race, to many conspiracy theorists, was a way for governments to accelerate the proliferation of military technology. So Trump and Xi are going to get up there being like, I've got the faster AI, I've got the more nuclear energy. And all of a sudden, 2028 comes around and we've got small modular reactors powering our houses. And they're like, well, thank God for that arms race between the US and China.
Yeah.
Sounds crazy, but
it totally is what is happening. I just think the AI stuff is fascinating because theoretically, once you get the first AI, can't you just use the AI to further create more AIs moving forward? Like, at some point, you don't need a human being in the process, I'm pretty sure, other than to like give the AI computing power and energy.
Did you see the Tesla video today of the cars driving themselves to the off the factory line?
And what's funny about that, I haven't even posted this, but Elon Musk, once the Cybertruck fireworks show happened in front of Trump Tower, that was, when was that? That was like, was that December?
Beginning of the month? It was like January 1st, right? I think. It was right around there. It was right around New Year's.
Yeah. Anyway, when that happened, people were like speculating, trying to figure out, CanCon was super interested in all the details and whether or not this guy was actually in the car. And Elon Musk responded to a tweet. He's like, no, the cars aren't capable of driving themselves somewhere. Like, somebody would have to be in the seat. And then a month later, they're rolling out like the self-driving, you don't need anybody in the car to go anywhere now. It's like, you motherfucker, it was like this the whole time. You were lying. Of course.
I mean, I think I've mentioned on this show, but I know it sounds silly and it's pure anecdote. But Tesla people will tell you, like people that become Tesla fanatics, it's not about the company. It's that just go try it out. Go find a Tesla test drive, because they do them at malls and everything. Go sit in a Tesla, put it on self-driving, and just plug something in. And you can watch a video all you want of full self-driving technology. I had seen plenty of videos of people having their cars take them all around the streets, right? Until you sit in a car and watch it drive you through busy traffic in suburban areas to a golf course. Like, once my wife and I got out of that car, it changes the way you think. That this is stuff that if we were 10 years old, you think of this as like future stuff that we're just never going to get. And then to your point, imagine where it could go from here. So we've said these theories many times on the show. I mean, just like we find it close to impossible to believe that Elon Musk just bought Twitter, that there wasn't more to that story.
Yeah.
I also think that this technology and this AI technology is more of a timed rollout than it is Elon figuring some stuff out and making really cool self-driving cars.
I honestly want a Cybertruck just for the self-driving. Like, can you imagine? Like, there'd be so much time for activities. I could just sit.
There would be.
You
could. Yep.
Sit there and work on my phone, hang out with my kids. We play games in the car while we're just going where we need to go. Don't have to worry about
podcasts.
Anything.
We could
I
do
could podcasts.
Yeah. We could do podcasts on the way to GART. Could just do Cybertruck GART caravans.
I mean, that's such a long drive. By the way, GART guys, you should get your tickets if you haven't yet. They're on sale. I haven't checked in a while where we're at, but I know our VIP is sold out.
Mrs. Bright did not believe that because one of you viewers emailed her and was like, the VIP is sold out. Can I get on a waiting list? And she was like, this ridiculous conspiracy theorist is not correct. And then she checked and they were right. They are sold out.
Sure enough, you guys.
But plenty of general admission, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know about plenty, but
well,
I'm gonna check, see where we're at. I don't remember what we said, how many we're selling, but I can't wait for Vegas, man. It's gonna be so much fun. The venue's beautiful.
I still haven't been given full permission to go, although I think it's leaning in that direction. She's probably in a bad mood right now, so everybody play it cool.
I personally think you should stay home and spend time with your son.
This is just because John wants Mrs. Bright at Vegas.
Yeah,
much
you should let your wife come to Vegas. Yeah.
She is a much bigger value add, I would say.
I would agree.
Although in some ways, she was like, she likes being on the ground at the events to appease her anxiety, so she can have more hands-on control, mainly of John, and that Zach is really. He's like a little Tasmanian devil at these guards too.
Yeah, she can never say anything bad about me again.
That's true. But, wrangling all of us, it's not easy to do. But she also kind of experienced at GART Myrtle being remote that she could do more of the tech stuff remotely. So it goes both ways. It's almost like she can do more hands-on when she's at the event, but she can do different things when she's remote.
Gotcha. Well, maybe we're
distracted.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, I'd definitely pick her. But whatever you guys decide, I'm okay with. But yeah, get your tickets, guys. We've sold about a little over 2/3 of the tickets, it looks like, and a majority of our ticket sales are like within the first week of release, and then the last like 2 weeks leading up. So we're getting close to that 2 weeks.
It works, yeah.
So if you want to guarantee yourself a spot, I wouldn't wait too long. But it's going to be fantastic.
They're not on sale yet, but it's going to come up before we know it. All you Northeasterners, you New Englanders who were badgering us to do a Boston area GART, you better show out for GART Plymouth in May. You kept asking for it. We got a venue. Plymouth is a cool town. So
I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to that one.
It's basically Brightsville.
Yeah. Still not even sure if I'm going, but I'll let you guys know. But yeah, I think this should end up being, this Vegas one should end up being our second biggest. We had a lot of people at Myrtle Beach. That was by far our biggest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this one's going to end up being second biggest. We'll see. But anyway, I do want to get to our second sponsor tonight's show before I forget. Should just make you read it again. But
she said she's going to Vegas. All right.
Yes. I approve, Miss Bright. We got some lean from Field of Greens. Are you a yo-yo dieter? You diet, lose weight, but gain it all back, plus a few extra pounds, and later you lose it, regain it again and again. It's dangerous. Studies show that it can increase your risk of heart attack, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other health problems. Breaking free of your yo-yo diet pattern is a main reason doctors created Lean. Lean is a supplement, not an injection, and you don't need a prescription. The science behind Lean is impressive. Its studied natural ingredients target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar, it helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting fat into energy. So listen, if you're tired of losing weight and gaining it back, the yo-yo, and if you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace, Lean was created just for you. Let's get you started with 20% off when you enter DPH20. That's DPH20 at takelean.com. takelean.com DPH20. Thank you guys for supporting our sponsors. I actually had my supply of this stuff. I took it when I first got it, and it was a little like too strong for me. I don't have that much weight to lose. And I actually just sent it off to our merch guys, Adrian, Rise of Tire.
What are you trying to say about Adrian?
He requested it.
All right.
I thought they were both in good shape, but they want to try it out. So we'll get some even more firsthand experience on that product. But yeah, highly recommend. What else are we going to talk about, dude?
There's one more note I had on the AI thing when you were just talking about just where we're going with it. I think it was Kathy Wood of ARK Invest. She's a pretty well-known maverick investor, runs a hedge fund. She repopularized this term called Jevon's paradox that was going, it was trending today.
Jevon?
Jevon, Jevon's paradox. I did not know about this before she was saying it, but it was trending. It was really interesting because, this DeepSeek thing caused this flash crash in markets.
Yeah.
And now the flash crash ostensibly was because AI, now maybe it's not going to need as much energy, right? That was the whole premise.
Can I play
this video, but yeah, go ahead.
In the early parts of the Industrial Revolution,
I'd much rather hear an explanation from somebody that's not you. That's fair.
In the early parts of the Industrial Revolution, Jevons realized that a lot of folks thought, we'll build a much more efficient steam engine, right? This was like the most interesting engineering and research kind of task at the time. And you would have assumed that with a more efficient steam engine, you would then be able to use less coal in London. You just take all the steam engines, we did the research, they're all more efficient now. So we'll use less coal over time. And what happened instead was that people built more and more steam engines and had more and more use cases for them and automated more and more tasks. And the coal of our time right now are sort of the GPUs, and the analogy doesn't quite work in terms of what's reusable resource or something. But the idea is that as intelligence gets cheaper and cheaper, we won't just lose all the jobs that currently require intelligence. We will just use intelligence in more and more places. I think overall the amount of tasks that we believe require some decent amount of intelligence will just skyrocket. We'll just use intelligence more and more. Everyone will have a personal assistant if they want to. I think we will see an explosion in intelligence, even though intelligence, the marginal cost of it, is reducing more and more.
Was that the point you're trying to make?
I mean, I would say he actually was more complicated about
it.
The basic way that I would describe this is, the idea is, as a technology gets more efficient, there's a paradox that can emerge. The traditional thinking would be it gets more efficient, therefore less energy is going to be used powering this thing. Jevon's paradox basically says, as AI gets more efficient, more people and industries are going to use AI, meaning that so much AI is going to be used because it is so efficient that more net energy is actually going to be required. And the whole point there is that in that context, all this stuff that was trending this week about how do we actually not need this much energy doesn't actually make a lot of sense, because all it really means is that there's going to be way more AI, and AI is going to be way more powerful than we ever imagined. Just that the energy that we use on it is going to be powering it to do way crazier things. Like you think a company that was going to use X power supply to have like a level 10 AI assistant is going to not 100x the power supply to 100x 100%. The power of the AI. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I just thought that was I'd never heard of that concept, and it's interesting.
Yeah. And it's only going to get more accessible. It's like everything. It's like the cell phone, right? When the computer, when the first computer came out, it was super expensive and super hard for people to get and use. And as the technology gets developed, it becomes easier and less expensive to get people on board to use it. And I would love an assistant. That sounds amazing.
AI assistant.
Yeah.
AI coming soon. Again, also
and
an
the
Iron
Tesla,
Man, Jarvis.
The Tesla assistant. I just want a Tesla. When is Tesla going to make like the first house, like the Tesla house?
Tesla house.
Like everything in it is automated, do your laundry, make your food, all that stuff.
You guys are going to start seeing cyber cabs probably by the end of the year in a couple of cities, and then that's going to break people's brains. They're just going to be cars driving around by themselves.
It's crazy. Here is what President Trump had to say about the crash. I've been fully briefed on the terrible accident which just took place at Reagan National Airport. May God bless their souls. Thank you for the incredible work being done by our first responders. I am monitoring the situation and will provide more details as they arise.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. The AI stuff, it's not going away. We're going to see stories every week about this. Can you imagine what's going to happen when they train an AI to trade stocks and money? Like, that AI is going to become the most powerful, if it's not already being done, it's going to become the most powerful, wealthiest individual ever. Not individual.
I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, but maybe it is a conspiracy theory. No, BlackRock has long been running a software called Aladdin, a portfolio management software that provides investment professionals a way to view and manage daily investments. So let me see here. 2013, it handled $11 trillion in assets. I think it might be conspiracy theory that they've essentially had this for a long time, and that's kind of at the heart of a lot of my theories about nuclear energy, etc. Like Jordan Sather talks about this all the time: suppressed energy, suppressed technology. Why do we think, besides the fact that they control markets, is it possible that market makers get ahead of big trades because they have had access to highly advanced AI modules for years and years? And again, then you look at stuff like DeepSeek and Grok even, and you start going, like the reason Sam Altman hates Elon Musk and Grok is because Elon Musk is putting Grok out. It's almost as good, if not better, than ChatGPT, and will be soon, will be in 2025, based on the amount of compute that Tesla has. And it's going to be free or mostly free.
It's insane. But yeah, let's keep going here. We could talk about the inspector generals for a little bit, because that's pretty newsworthy. We've talked about the inspector general situation on this show often throughout the years. I mean, we even had a little stretch of time where it was theorized that what if the inspector generals, the ones who are overseeing all the departments, and this ICIGE inspector, or IGI, ICIGE or whatever, I don't remember, CIGE, this group overseeing all the inspector generals who are overseeing all the Department of Justice and every department everywhere. What if they're the ones collecting all the evidence for everything, and they're the ones behind this operation? I mean, who knows? Maybe. Still could be. Horowitz is still in there. But Trump came in and he fired like many inspector generals, 10, 15, maybe there were some reports of 17. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I don't know the exact number, but he fired them. There was a challenge saying you can't do this. Some of them refused to leave. One of them got drug out of office.
Yeah.
I don't know if I wish there was video of this, but former USDA Inspector General defies Trump's order, escorted from her office. Security agents escorted the Inspector General of the USDA out of her office on Monday after she refused to comply with her dismissal by the Trump administration, according to Reuters. Phyllis Fong, it's a fun name, a 22-year veteran of the department, had informed colleagues that she planned to stay despite the White House's decision to terminate her. Crazy. Well, yeah, there was 17, so that is accurate. But yeah,
I mean, and obviously there's a lot of different kinds of inspectors general, right? There's like DOD, DOJ stuff, and then there's agriculture, etc.
Well, every like main agency has their own IG.
But what I thought was interesting about this on a macro level is if you just look at the definition of what does an inspector general do? They're responsible for preventing and detecting fraud, waste, and abuse within a government agency, right? As this article says, and as people say, they're a watchdog. I find it so interesting and signally that Trump rode in this promise of dismantling and reducing and making the government more efficient, right? Department of Government Efficiency. And ironically, in his first week, he starts firing all of the people that are there to make the government run more efficiently. So besides what these people, I don't know anything about these actual inspectors general, but what Trump is signaling to the normie layers of the American people, the people that are paid handsomely to make the government run efficiently don't fucking do anything and are not required. So to make the government run more efficiently, we're going to get rid of all the people who are paid to make the government run more efficiently. This is one of those age-old logical conundrums. If your job subsists off of making things run more efficiently, when you have reached maximum efficiency, your job is now redundant, right? So where is your incentive? It's the same thing in policing. When some police departments are incentivized by the number of arrests that are made or the number of tickets that they hand out, you are now incentivizing crime, or you are incentivizing the finding of crime by people who are supposed to be responding to it. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I just, if you're gonna do corrupt stuff, one of the best ways to get away with it is to have somebody who is on your side in one of these departments, because they can cover stuff up. They're responsible for looking into this stuff. They can bury it. But Trump has dismissed people before. In 2020, he actually dismissed like 5 people within 6 weeks, 5 IGs. One of them was Michael Atkinson. He was a big one. He's the one who I think was the one who handled the whistleblower complaint scandal with Schiff and that whole thing. And Trump was not happy about that, so he fired a bunch of them. The one I want to see a list. It's rumored that the Pentagon is one of the agencies that had or departments that had an IG removed. I'm very curious if that's true and who it was and what the reasoning was on Trump's side, because it's a very specific number. He kept the rest of them in there. How many of these are Biden appointees? Right. I just want to know more details, but it's been very hush hush. We don't have like a full explanation of who was fired other than this one that had to be drug out, and who's still there.
Was it you or Chris who posted in our chat a video of one of them talking about this yesterday? It was a guy.
The guy who went
totally
on.
Shocked.
Yeah, the guy who went on. I think it was CNN or MSNBC. I can pull up the video here.
Was that an inspector general? Or different? Because that was kind of interesting to watch in terms of just, I think Chris posted it maybe. Just kind of a vibe check on that guy. Seemed like he was very caught off guard. The central narrative is telling us that these inspectors general were absolutely shocked at what was going on here.
Yeah, I think it was this guy. Yeah, right here. Whoops.
That you or your colleagues were doing. We heard Senator Graham there. Were you given any indication that you or your colleagues were doing a quote lousy job?
No, all indications were to the contrary. Folks on the Hill, from both parties, have for years relied on work from the Inspector General community, and we add great value, billions.
Inspector General community. There's a whole community
return to the Treasury based on our work. And we go about preventing waste, fraud, and abuse in a highly effective way. And so we've never heard those concerns prior to Senator Graham's comments a few moments ago.
What's interesting here is, okay, waste, fraud, and abuse. They're supposed to fight that. It's rumored the Pentagon, the Department of State, those are the ones that have been handling the money going to Ukraine. And there's all these reports of missing money in Ukraine and everything. But it's not really a glowing, recommendation when the people telling you you're doing a good job are the people on the Hill, so the liberal media and the uniparty, like from both parties. Like, come on, give me a break. These are the people getting kickbacks in every which way possible from these defense contractors, who's the ones making all this money by what's going overseas and being. The whole thing is corrupt. So
yeah,
I want to see a list.
Yeah, and that'll be fun to dig into. But the phrase that popped into my head with this deployment was "Who watches the watchman?" Again, if you just baseline look at what does an inspector general do, and that inspector general was happy to tell us, like, we're responsible for making the government run. Like, without us, it can't run. We're getting to the point, and I'm seeing this is effective. If you look on just normie YouTube, on normie Twitter, etc., you will see that I think I think that these deployments are landing exactly as Trump wants them to land. He wants these arguments happening. He basically wants an inspector general like that to go on TV and bloviate about how they need him. And he wants the American people to see that not only do they not need these people, but maybe they do uncover. I mean, wouldn't it be so interesting, to your point on Ukraine, etc., if the people responsible for tracking and ostensibly stopping fraud and abuse and waste in government are the ones overseeing fraud and abuse and waste in government? Wouldn't it be handy for the deep state if you were the deep state and you're just thinking about what is the incentive structure? Profit, right? Profit and control. Which positions within government agencies would you try to get your people into? You only need the inspector general. You can have a bunch of good soldiers, doing their work at the Department of Agriculture. Not that we need it, but let's just say you did. All you need is the inspector general there, and there you go. Like, they're the ones who have final sign off. So I think Trump is, he may be signaling that these people were up to no good. At the very least, the most innocent reading of it is Trump is saying they are literally not required for us to run the government efficiently.
Well, I think one thing we can look at here too is there are more than just the 17 that were fired. Again, I don't even know how many there are. I think there's like 50 some. But the fact that he was very specific and only fired some of them and not all of them, and he did so within a week of him being in office, that means he knew coming in exactly which IGs are the bad ones, the bad eggs, and doing corrupt stuff and shouldn't be in office anymore, and which ones he's okay with, at least for now. That's very telling. He knew right off the bat, we need to get rid of these people. This is where our problems are.
And
I think that's good.
I think it's telling, to your point. I think that clip is great because you can tell it's telling to them, right? The ones, who knows that they were up to something? The people who were up to something. So it's like when you get caught, you tend to be like, I have no idea how I didn't do anything wrong. It's like, well, hold on, buddy. Nobody's accusing you of having done something wrong. Why are you saying you didn't do anything wrong? And then I saw CanCon in the chat saying like they have to alert Congress. I don't know how this works in terms of firing IGs, but I will say that this is a broader trend. Even normie liberals on like normie Twitter feeds are picking up on the game theory that Trump is using here. He wants his actions to be challenged. We've been talking about that on this show for years now. This is why the Supreme Court being set up the way it is going to be so important, because as we've been talking about for years, Donald Trump is not worried about defining or redefining presidential authority. I think he is trying to define that. And as Chris geniusly points out in chat, Congress schmongress, I believe, will be the official finding. But I don't know if CanCon will be upset about it or not. I wouldn't think he'd be defending Congress.
Well, especially when you have an illegitimate Congress. Don't worry, we're going to primary them all out of there, though. If they don't do what we want,
illegitimate until we like the things that they're saying in hearings, John.
Scott Pressler had a stern warning for people voting against RFK that he will come to your city and he will ballot harvest until you are gone.
Needed.
Yeah.
You know what'll save this country? Congressional committees, John. That's what we've been missing.
I liked your point there, though, about Trump wanting the challenge and fighting this stuff in courts, because, I mean, what if Trump does something at an agency, the other group comes in and says, no, that's unconstitutional, and then by the time it's done, it's like the entire thing. So Trump's not even just firing somebody, and you're claiming that firing is unconstitutional. The entire position and agency they were in itself was unconstitutional in the first place. Let's get rid of the whole thing. Like, that is some deep level game theory here that I think will be, I hope we see some of that. They're going to be the ones bringing the lawsuits. Trump doesn't even have to challenge the constitutionality until he's defending what he did in the first place. It's like, I can do whatever I want because this thing is entirely unconstitutional in the first place. And if we're ever going to have these discussions, there's no better time than the SCOTUS we have right now. I mean, because on paper, this is our SCOTUS. This should be our SCOTUS on paper. So very interesting time.
And this is where, if you believe in narrative shielding theories, there have been some decisions, not necessarily that the whole Supreme Court has made, but that select members, let's say Amy Coney Barrett, off the top of my head, I can't think of the controversial decisions, but there have been a couple of decisions where one or two of the Trump appointees have kind of gone against what MAGA considered the MAGA reading of the decision, whether or not it went through. Amy Coney Barrett has done this a couple of times. Gorsuch might have done this, but I can't off the top of my head think of who. I know Amy did. But when you're going into this golden age future and you're trying to redefine government, that narrative shielding of them having gone against what Trump wants on certain decisions in the past is extremely valuable, so that they won't just be seen as foot soldiers. The media is going to say that anyway. And we've said on this show, again, going back a year when they were starting to get a little panicky about the 2024 election. Remember, Politico in particular had a bunch of articles all about how important the Supreme Court was going to be during Trump 2.0. So this is what it's about. It's a reverse Uno card. That's what Trump's just going to be. He's just going to be baiting them out, baiting out the high Uno cards, and he's going to hit them with the reverse.
Yeah. So somebody in the chat asked a question, Sohawk. So can Trump write EOs that limit Congress? It's an interesting question. The way EOs work, like they're either authorities based in Article 2, essentially, or it's authorities given to the president by Congress, if that makes sense. So his authority and power to do things stem from the Constitution and what Congress allows him to do by creating laws and whatnot. And national emergencies, that's a big one. That's where it gets really blurred. Like when Trump declares a national emergency at the border and starts doing all these things, there's some law there, but it's a little blurry. Are they going to challenge it? What will that expose? I don't know. But we're in for some interesting discussions when they do challenge these things about, are we actually living in a constitutional era right now? Is any of what we see, anything we've been seeing for, as Chris would say, back to the 1870s or even before, has any of it been constitutional?
Right.
And what does that mean? Like if they make a ruling on one of these things being unconstitutional and a reason behind it is a president doesn't have that authority to do this thing, what does that mean for everything that's been done the same exact way, going back to every executive order after 1870? All it takes is one.
And Chris has been talking about this when it comes to the difference between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitutional Convention, the idea that the Articles required unanimous approval from the 13 colonies. You had to go 13 for 13. Congressional, Congress, what is it? Congressional, whatever the hell word I just lost, is 2/3, I believe. But either way, like it's kind of ironic because this goes back to arguments I remember lobbing at conservative friends when I was a liberal as like a 14, 15-year-old. Liberals lobbing at, like throwing at.
You're throwing at your friends? Just like throwing?
Yeah. Just throwing stuff at them.
Like
you heard my Huck and Egg story on the narrative with Brad?
I heard so. I tuned out. Man. That got a little gay for me and I tuned out. The wraparound lost me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Banging it out. I didn't get
as gay as Brad did.
Yeah.
Just banging it out in biology class. You know how it is.
You were both tit for tit with that one. Mm-hmm. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. I used to hit conservatives with anti-constitutional arguments. It's just so ironic given that they all consider me like a Republican extremist these days. But I used to hit them with that because I would say, well, look at how many amendments there are. It's like a 10-year-old argument, logic. But there's some logic to it of saying, at what point do you get to endorse or fall back on the sanctity of this document that can just have a new consensus protocol layered over it at a specific time period, even if it was unanimous at that specific time period? It's like, okay, so now this is the Constitution now going forward. And Chris brings up the 14th Amendment quite a bit for a reason. The Civil War. Did we win the Civil War? Signs point to no. So it's all just interesting. And you do wonder how far the Trump deployments are trying to get us to look back at these things, not just like even on a legal level. Anyway, the whole point is he wants these fights. He wants these fights playing out, not just to the Supreme Court, But nothing Trump is doing right now, for the most part, is pissing off his base. Everybody is cheering it on, and public mandate counts for quite a bit.
Yeah. Let's change the topic to another issue that I think will be challenged in courts, maybe multiple times for multiple different reasons, but Trump and Gitmo. Trump today, during the signing of the Laken Riley Act, had this comment, and this is, I mean, we've talked about Gitmo quite a bit. Anons and everybody in this community has been talking about Gitmo for a while because of the whole situation. Obama tried to shut it down, couldn't. And I think it was actually Congress who wouldn't let him shut it down, which is interesting. Declining prisoner population, Trump gets in there, and he adds on to it. It's grown exponentially, and we finally got some direct confirmation of Trump's plans for Gitmo here, and it was pretty notable. Let's take a listen.
Today, I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back. So we're going to send them out to Guantanamo. This will double our capacity immediately, right? And it's a tough place to get out of. Today's signings bring us one step closer to eradicating the scourge of migrant crime in our communities once and for all. And it was just it's just an unforced error that did it.
So it's interesting he says most people don't even know about it, because that's true. I don't think anybody really over the past few years, at least that I've been in the community, has talked about Gitmo as a migrant facility. Everybody thinks about it as, Hillary's already been down there and she's been murdered and she's just wearing a mask, and Biden, all these people have been killed down there through military tribunals. That's what everybody's been talking about Gitmo. Not saying that stuff like that isn't going to happen potentially, but then I did some digging on it just for my phone briefly, waiting to pick the kids up from school. And there was an article back in 2024, September, not that long ago, talking about the facility housing migrants at Guantanamo Bay. And in 2019, I guess, Trump had said, in 2019, Trump suggested using the military base as a large-scale holding pen for immigrants from around the world. And thinking of when he said that, it was sometime in 2019, before COVID, around then, did he know he had to walk away? Who knows? We could debate that all day. But the way a lot of things were set up for the Biden term, like potentially the construction ongoing at Gitmo, perfectly timed for this moment of, we're going to put the worst of the worst migrants here. It's just interesting. And nobody knew about this, really.
Yeah, and obviously there's all the Q drop mentions of Gitmo. I'm sure the Storm Boys have been talking about this a lot. And that stuff's interesting when you talk about the deep state. But before that, on the sort of migrant level, it kind of reminds me of the El Salvador stuff. You know, we've mentioned how President Bukele rounded up 60-something thousand MS-13 gang members down in El Salvador and put them in holding facilities before he processed them, etc. I don't know how many of them remained in prison, but the initial wrap-up operation was 60-something thousand gang members. So, people see a number like normies in the U.S. see a number like 30,000. You're going to hold 30,000? There's that many of the worst criminals? Hell yeah, there are. There's more than that. And if El Salvador can do it, can double us up there, those are rookie numbers. We got to pump those numbers up. 30,000 is not enough. Build more facilities. We need 30,000 a week. And it makes sense if you've got ringleaders, if you've got particularly violent illegals that represent the sort of cartel influences that Trump is talking about and designated as terrorists, then that's where you put them. And where they go from there, we'll see. Maybe we send them all to Colombia now.
Yeah, there's a report. When I was going through that article, I came across this group, the International Refugee Assistance Project, and these are the ones who put the New York Times onto the story. But the whole story here, this report, again, September of this last year, detention of refugees at Guantanamo Bay. I think the most they've ever actually held there was like 40 people, but they have beds for 30,000. Like what other reason would Trump get the construction of that place built out for 30,000 people? Unless it's like migrants makes the most sense. I mean, you could argue deep state stuff and all whatever, but
well, it's all the same. I mean, the foot soldiers of the deep state.
What do you mean all the same?
Well, I mean, I think it's all part of the same cartel, like the same cartel organization. But I get what you mean. You mean like the big names, political figures, etc. Yeah, I think that's a separate thing. And I saw some people in the chat saying there's millions of illegals. Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if Trump is mentioning the worst of the worst, there were more than 60,000 criminals in El Salvador. The ones that Bukele rounded up were the murderous, raping, rampaging MS-13 members as basically a mass purge. So that is what they're talking about. Those are the Guantanamo candidates. They're not just going to take the ones who come in illegally and throw them in Guantanamo. These are the ones that are suspected of being violent criminals, traffickers, mules, all that kind of stuff.
Chris Paul, I'm trying to find, he just said something pretty funny in the chat. Where they go some, they go all to Gitmo. It's really funny. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I see people in the chat. Well said. And I see people mentioning Catherine Herridge in the chat. And yeah, absolutely. The way all of this stuff is coming together, several weeks ago, she was doing the follow the pen stuff, taking selfies outside of Gitmo. And then lo and behold, we've got this massive Trump deployment about Gitmo. So it's almost like we're seeing a plan come together. And when you bring up articles from the New York Times and everything from the Biden era or the first Trump era, man, imagine how freaked out those people are. This is why we covered these articles for a couple of years on the show. It's why the smarter members of the media establishment, the ones who are probably deep state, they were the ones actually freaking out about Trump getting back in. Where a lot of the other ones, a lot of the normal like Twitterati and media establishment, they just didn't want him to win, but they didn't think it was an existential threat. The ones who know what's going on here are the ones who fear an existential threat to their whole organization.
I still think the most fascinating part of this whole story is, well, a couple things. Number one, if you remember, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, he at one point worked at Gitmo. Like he was stationed at Gitmo for a period, and now he's the Secretary of Defense and totally on board with Trump's migrant plans. But with how many people, including myself, have like dug into Gitmo, nobody caught on to the migrant facility that's there. That's kind of wild. Nobody's talked about it.
I mean, is there like a difference between a migrant facility and just a facility?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an entirely different part of the base.
Okay. I just don't see why. I mean, if they're criminals, just as long as they got a bed.
Because really they have totally different freedoms. From what I read, I haven't finished reading this report. It's like 66 pages, but the migrants that come there, they're the ones that they find like in the middle of the ocean, at least to this point. They find in the middle of the ocean. They bring them there. They can only use the phone for like 30 minutes a week, and they can't talk about the conditions there. When they move them around the base, they have to wear black goggles, kind of like the terrorists do. But they're allowed to like go get jobs in a different part of the island. They just have to be back by curfew. And then if they can't get asylum in the United States, and out of, I think I saw a number in here, like only 6 of the 21,000 Syrian refugees or something over the past 20 years have ever actually been granted asylum. There's what the story from the New York Times they were highlighting was somebody who got asylum to Canada, but it's like they're just in a holding pattern unless they go back. Like you can stay here, but you're going to work a crap job on the other side of the island. You're only get on the phone for like a couple minutes a week, and you're going to have a curfew. Like you're not going to have full rights as a U.S. citizen here, essentially, until you leave. And we're not letting you into the United States. So
tried to find a bed for Mrs. Bright. They're not currently taking Canadian illegals, but yeah, I mean, to me, this is like, speaking of reverse Uno cards, this is the reverse Uno card Ellis Island. I think that's what we're doing here. It's like, we're going to process people out through an island rather than.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, okay, so some game theory here. If you're running a deportation operation and you threaten to send people that you find to Gitmo before going even back to like their own country, people are probably gonna like, maybe we should just leave on our own. Let's just get out of here. I don't want to spend any time at Gitmo.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that probably is how they. I mean, I was gonna say I don't mean to conflate them with Gitmo terrorists, but maybe I do. Trump's deployments about federal employees, the return to work orders for February 6th. They're counting on up to 10% just self-selecting right out of the federal workforce, and then a certain number beyond that are going to take the deal. So to your point about illegals, yeah, a lot of them they're being, this is the stick, right? They've used the carrot for a long time. There is no carrot that can compel somebody to leave the best country in the world willingly. But there's a lot of sticks that can be used, and Gitmo is a hell of a big stick.
Yeah. And another way to look at this too is Trump has talked about how many terrorists, like actual terrorists, have come into the United States through the southern border. Maybe we're just hosting migrants there, like housing migrants there as like a transition place. Maybe they just know where all these terrorists are, and they're just going to be literally sending the terrorists there under the name of migrants. And that's how they map out some of those organizations. I don't know. But
I think that's exactly what's good. I thought we were on the same page. I figured everybody's on the same page with that.
Some of what you're saying. So
no, I just mean I think that we can replace the word migrant. Like if you're being sent, if you're being sent to Guantanamo Bay under the Bush administration, I'm gonna like revert to 2005 liberal self. But being deported to Gitmo under the Trump administration, I have a lot more trust that you're at Gitmo for a reason, not just because you came through the border.
You got to read the article that I sent, because it's my impression of the migrant facilities is that it's totally disconnected from the terrorist facilities. And that's why I think there is a distinction to be made. And I had another thing I was going to talk about. Somebody says, speaking of the people like not self-reporting or self-resigning from the government. I went through this today on the Daily Show, or the Daily Herald. I love this idea, like give people the option to resign if you don't think you're going to fit in, if you know you're going to get fired anyway because you suck at your job, you don't want to be here, you don't align with our values, you're trying to subvert Trump, any of these reasons, your agency is worthless and going to be removed by Doge, just don't even come, take the severance package. I hate how long they're giving these people. They have until February 6th to decide, and then if they decide, they get a paid vacation until September, which is asinine. Like, why do we need to give them that long? That's the whole thing about Doge is making the government more efficient and saving all these dollars, but we're going to pay people through September. That doesn't seem like a very, that's not very good stewardship of our dollar.
I don't mind this because I think that part of the disclosure here is how sickeningly overpaid the entire federal workforce is, especially when you add in benefits, etc. So if you looked at a side-by-side of the money it would cost to give them all their severances and kind of pay them to quit, it's probably fractions upon fractions of what they cost to keep in place. And then the other side of that is that there is some, because the administrative state has gotten so big, I mean, what is it? I think the number is 2 million federal workers.
Yeah.
If you did have a mass exodus or forced exodus, you're talking about a massive economic disruption of just getting rid of what we think about federal workers and whether those jobs should exist. You also can't just like shoot them out into the wild while you're supposedly trying to resuscitate the American economy. The jobs don't just magically appear in the private sector for 1 million workers. Like there needs to be a bit of a ramp.
Okay, well, jobs just appeared with all these migrants being removed, but I understand. Like I got a text from Chris.
They can pick some lettuce. I'm on board. Send them to the farms.
I know it's the end of the fiscal year, and I know that Elon Musk, I think, had a post about it. It's like that's the longest we could allow them to be paid without having to go to Congress for more money. I understand these salaries have probably already been earmarked in the budget, but I don't really care. The people that are going to be taking this deal, it's not like, mean, how many people taking this deal are good people? I mean, maybe there are some good ones. I don't want to, maybe that's a bad thing to say, but do they really need 8 months? There's got to be a way you could do this where you give them like 3 months, like most normal jobs would do, or 6 months. 6 months is the longest I've heard of, like a severance. Somebody leaving their work, getting paid for 6 months, getting paid up front the 6 months, and then being gone. 8 months is just insane.
But
Even
I
6
think
months
this,
is insane, but
I don't disagree with you. I just think that a lot of what we're dealing with, even with Trump's IRS deployments, and today he went after Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve, which we predicted on this show in almost the exact manner that he did several months ago.
Yeah.
They have been telling you for years that they can just print the dollar, right? So like, we need to stop using the terminology "our tax dollars." As G Money or Chris or whoever would say, our tax dollars are not going into any of these salaries. Our tax dollars are just being taken from us while the Fed prints whatever the budget is, right? So they just create this money anyway. And I think that the reason Trump is fine with just giving these people an 8-month off ramp is because he just print it. Like, it's already there, and the Federal Reserve gets all the blame for it. And I think, if anything, this just compounds the effect. It increases the mandate for Trump to do something about the U.S. financial situation. If they're making that decision, and if they know how many people are going to take that kind of a deal, they have to have looked at the counterbalance. They have to have looked at the possible economic impact of what happens if 300,000 people overnight hit the workforce.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
I don't know.
I'm not saying I know better than the people who have gamed the system behind, the computers, the calculations, all this stuff. I'm just saying I have questions, because even if the monetary system is fake and it's going to be rugged and it's not going to matter in a little bit, like, there are other people that I think are more deserving than that money. These people, every single one of these people that's going to take this thing, again, I probably shouldn't have said that. I bet a large majority of the people that are going to take this deal would have been fired within the next couple months or two, just off the bat anyway, right?
Yeah.
So why don't just let them, don't even offer this, let them stay on for a month, figure out which places you're going to fire, which I'm assuming they already know that anyway, and just fire them and give them their normal, like, 2-month severance or whatever the government actual severance is, and save billions of dollars.
Okay, devil's advocate, if I take your line of thinking, if we apply that IG lady, Fang, like, her whole mentality was Trump gets on national platform and says, I'm firing these specific IGs. And she, apparently, according to the sourcing in these articles, was telling all her employees, like, he doesn't have the authority to do this. It's not going to happen. So, and then obviously she got dog walked, right? Now apply that how infectious or ubiquitous do you think that mentality is among the federal workforce? It's a cancer. And I bet you that if we think of that term narrative shielding again from earlier tonight, think of the shielding Trump gets when I bet far fewer federal employees are going to take this deal than what is being broadcast out there, because they don't think that they're going to lose their jobs. They're going to call Trump's bluff, and you might kind of get what you want, where imagine however many of them didn't take the deal, and then in 2 months, they're out of a job, right? Then Trump is like, Trump looks great to everybody because he can be like, hey, good luck out there. Like, I told you we were coming in and we were going to cut this much of the workforce, and you didn't take the deal because you didn't think I had the authority, or you thought I was bluffing. So it feels like maybe they're offering an extra generous package as a bit of a bluff.
Is it as generous as Mike Johnson's package?
That's nobody's package is as generous or as frequently provided as Mike Johnson's.
He is a great provider of packages. Yeah, I get your point. The people with a mentality like that IG lady who wouldn't leave, Phyllis Fang, love that name. I could say that all day long. Phyllis Fang.
Fake person. I refuse to.
I'm going to name my next kid Phyllis Fang just because I love saying it so much. People with that mentality, the ones that are going to try to stay and, like, either the people that are going to stay, they're staying to resist. They're staying because they feel like they have a there's a mission here for them. They need to defeat Trump. They need to
be as gay as
subvert
possible.
Trump.
Right.
They need to, those people, they're not going to take this deal. The people that feel like they need to stay for virtuous reasons, like their virtuous reasons, they're not going to take this deal anyway.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what kind of person is going to take this deal, honestly.
Maybe the ones who take the deal are the ones who most deserve it. Like they're the ones who are like, all right, I'm going to get myself on my feet. I'm going to like get out of the DC swamp and I'm going to, start a business, or I'm going to, relocate to another part of the country. It's going to be a net positive with these off ramps, I think, for outside of the DC swamp, because that area, the reason that those salaries are so, I mean, Ghost can tell you this, living in the area, the reason those salaries are so ridiculously bloated, it's this feedback loop where to live in that greater DC area, it's absurd, right? It's like LA or New York City or Boston. So when you offer these off ramps, in a funny way, you could almost argue that they're also adding economic stimulus to other parts of the country. Because if you've got this 8-month off ramp and you're leaving the swamp, maybe you go to Tennessee and you bring that off ramp with you, and now you're investing that off ramp right into the. So it's like a redistribution model, draining the swamp, but taking some of that energy and putting it into other parts of the country.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious to see how it plays out if people take it. Because I wonder if there's some game theory behind if some people do take it, and then later on people get fired and there's like legal challenges over it, if they can even challenge it, because some people, I don't know. I just thought 8 months was very long, a little too long. And I'm just a little bitter about government, and I want as few people in there making as little money as possible, as quickly as possible. So anyway. What else were we going to discuss? Is there anything else even? I don't remember.
Well, the Fed, I mean, on this topic or adjacent to it, there was a Fed meeting, an FOMC meeting today. The other, that stuff gets boring, but several months ago on the show, we talked about the pincer move. Well, for years, we've been talking about Trump has the Federal Reserve in a pincer move. He printed so much money, and then our boy Blue printed so much more money, that the Federal Reserve had to hike interest rates in order to keep inflation from going catastrophic, even though it still is, rather. So we had posited on this show that the Fed was caught in a pincer. If they keep raising rates or keep them steady, then the job market gets squeezed. Yep. If they cut rates, they know that they're going to get a blow off top in inflation, and they can't do it. Hence Trump's statement here. He gets to hammer the Fed. The Fed didn't do anything today. They didn't raise or lower. They stayed put, which is basically considered a sign of fear by the markets. They don't know which direction to go in, and I think it's because Trump trapped them.
Yeah. Do you want to read this quick? I'm trying to find a video.
So Trump says...
I found it here. Sorry.
Okay.
So I'll have this queued up. I can read this. I thought it was going to take me longer to find that, but it didn't. Okay, because Jay Powell and the Fed failed to stop the problem they created with inflation, I will do it by unleashing American energy production, slashing regulation, rebalancing international trade, and reigniting American manufacturing. But I will do much more than stopping inflation. I'll make our country financially and otherwise powerful again. The Fed has done a terrible job on bank regulation. Treasury is going to lead the effort to cut unnecessary regulation and will unleash lending for all American people and businesses. If the Fed had spent less time on DEI, gender ideology, green energy, and fake climate change, inflation would never have been a problem. Instead, we suffered from the worst inflation in the history of our country. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this was this video from the other day. It's one of the better videos.
The interest rates will come down.
You said that you would demand that the interest rates come down.
Well, I would put
Fed,
in a strong statement.
Do you expect the Fed to listen to you?
Yeah.
This is great. Do you think they'll listen? Yeah. Apparently didn't listen this time.
Well, wow. Or did they? Now that's where the theories come in. I think they did. We can't prove this, but look at the net effects. Everyone watching this show believes in end the Fed. Like, shout out to Ron Paul. Everyone believes in end the Fed. How do you get the public mandate to end the Fed? Now you've got Donald Trump signal boosting. I mean, think of how funny that truth post is, where he's basically, his threat is like, well, the bankers aren't doing it, so I guess I'm just going to have to make America great again, juice our economy with real jobs, real manufacturing, lead us into a crazy energy abundant future, all because the Fed, he knows, and they know that he knows that they can't raise or lower. They're stuck, and I think he's the one who trapped them there in 2020.
It's funny when you put it like that. It's like, all
He's
because
smiling.
the Fed didn't do this. I guess I'm gonna have to do all these things that I've been saying I'm gonna do anyway.
Right. Well, and then the American people are sitting there being like, wait a second, that was an option, right? Like, that's kind of the other side. The other side of the meme there is people being like, you could just do that. I think that's kind of a lot of what Trump is doing. It's just letting people know, like, I didn't know you could do that.
We weren't going to do any of those things, though, if it wasn't for Jay Powell.
Right. Jerome Powell.
Not lowering
Right.
the rates.
That dastardly Jerome Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, what we've got is essentially a frozen economy. It's not like a crashing economy. It's not a surging one. And it's because the money is broken. We know this, but all I think Trump did in 2020 is he just accelerated that timeline. And he's already cut off what seemed to be the globalist or the central bankers off-ramp out of this crisis. Seemed like it was going to be the central bank digital currencies. They were going to more slowly create a currency crisis on their own timeline, and then they were going to transition us into central bank digital currencies as a solution to the problem they created. Yep. Trump already headed that off, right? So what's Powell supposed to do?
Yeah. And this is, I used to say a lot on the show, like a long time before you were even on here, like talking about it's a race to the reset button. Like the deep state wants their great reset, the carbon-based system. And, Trump, we don't know what his reset button is, but I believe he's got one. I believe he's got a plan for it. And he won the race to be the one. I mean, if that's how you want to look at it, he at any point he could have came in and pressed the button. But narratively, he won the race, right? Totally. He's going to be the one there to press this button. Mm-hmm. He's told us multiple times that there's going to be a crash. Okay, I'll play this video again.
Mr. President, we've got another voter here tonight.
And by the way, you're going to default eventually anyway, but it's going to be much messier. I don't think you'll have to default. I think if the Republicans hold strong and they say we want 5.
That right there. You're going to default anyway, but it's going to be much messier. I don't think you're going to have to default. Like he says it, the opposite thing, back to back. Yeah. Love how he does that. But you can read it multiple ways. But let's just say Trump has the ability to press this reset button. He has the plan for whatever he wants to do in the waiting. You stay in the system you're in and get everything. This is the ultimate switch theory. You stay in the system we're in. You build up the infrastructure needed to have like this awesome economy and everything you need. The workers are in place, the infrastructure, the energy, everything. That's the best time to pull the plug on the old system because everything's in place to just take off from square one with the new one, whatever that is. Or whether it's just getting rid of all the debt with this, or if it's all Bitcoin or all XRP or gold, who knows? Don't know. Trump knows. But that's the switch theory here. Like everything's going to be ready to go for when the system is rugged and the reset button is pressed. And that's the switch being turned on.
I totally agree. Back in 2022, I had written an article called The Good Reset. And that was on the back of the Spider-Man 2 effect. Remember the train scene in Spider-Man 2?
I don't think I've seen Spider-Man 2.
Oh, it's the best one. But there's a big fight on a train. And when Dr. Octopus can't beat Spider-Man, what he does is he pushes the throttle of the train to full throttle. And then he breaks the throttle off and jumps off the train. So he accelerates the train and creates a crisis that Spider-Man has to solve. So he has to spend all his energy solving that, right? So that's exactly what I think Trump did with the money printing, is he pushed their reset, to your point, way faster than it was supposed to go. So they lost all of the mandate for that. That's the only other thing I would add to what you said, is that they have to have something. They have to have the new system, the parallel system being constructed, like you said. But I think the one more piece Trump needs is like a full public mandate to make whatever that switch is. And we're in a bit of a bubble in this community, whether you're like a Bitcoin person or even a gold and silver, or whatever you are. You're somebody who believes in end the Fed. If you go to a normie dinner table and talk about ending the Federal Reserve, they think that you're going to destroy the economy, right? So how do you get this today, I think, was Trump is getting the public mandate. And then one more point on it would be there's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists who are getting a little antsy right now because there was all this talk of a strategic Bitcoin stockpile or reserve leading into the election. And we're a week in and Trump hasn't signed an EO about it. And yeah, maybe.
Well,
do you want to flip?
Well, he signed that one executive order.
The crypto one. Yeah.
Yeah, the crypto one. And it's the surface level of any like executive order where they create the task force and the committee.
Yeah.
And that task force is going to explore and put forth an option for Trump. And so this might be the executive order that is the Bitcoin reserve stockpile executive order. It's just not there yet. That's not how it works. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I agree with that. The point I was making is that I think that they know when that switch is being made and they know when the Bitcoin stockpile is being announced, right? Donald Trump is not, contrary to what maxis believe, not the ones at Badlands, but Bitcoin maxis can be shockingly normie if you talk to them, especially like in the YouTube space and everything. They think that David Sachs is in charge of what we do with Bitcoin and that Trump doesn't know anything about it because he's doing his meme coins and everything. Trump knows what they're doing or not doing with Bitcoin. He also knows when they're doing it. And what I think is going on here is that as we get to this crisis point with the currency, Trump is going to have the public mandate to say like, hey guys, we need a solution to this. Oh, there it is. It's that Bitcoin reserve we've been talking about. Let's make that decision now. Let's make that switch over now. And then to Normieville, how do you start getting them to think about currency differently? You sort of merge a simultaneous currency crisis in the US dollar with the Bitcoin reserve. If you have Trump announce a Bitcoin reserve and there's no currency crisis, you're not really going to get the narrative that far. Yeah. People aren't even going to pay attention to it. But if they have a dollar crisis and then he announces Bitcoin and Bitcoin ironically saves the dollar, I think that's kind of more what we're looking at.
You're just trying to sell Bitcoin. Badlands Media.
River. I own the Bitcoin network and make money anytime anybody buys Bitcoin.
You're making me sound like a shell.
You got some sound bites today.
Man, I want to take Elizabeth Warren's Senate seat. I agree with Chris. Bitcoin stockpile already exists via drainage. Again, everything I'm talking about is Trump's story that he's going to be told. Yeah.
What do you mean by drainage?
Well, he literally has the Bitcoin stockpile via, first of all, the Bitcoin that the U.S. publicly holds is already from illegal, illicit activity. But he's probably referring to theories that a lot of the ETF, the BlackRock Bitcoin, Grayscale, a lot of these big investment hedge funds that basically run the deep state and run the U.S. economy, they're the ones who've been custodying Bitcoin on behalf of the exchange-traded funds that launched a year ago this month. And there are theories that all of that is basically just diversification where the U.S. Treasury is in charge of that. Because all of them are answerable to the Treasury.
I feel like Chris could have defined that a lot simpler. That was confusing.
All the Bitcoin on exchanges could be under the authority of the U.S. Treasury.
All the Bitcoin on the exchanges?
Not on the exchanges. Well, yeah. All the ones in the ETFs. All the ones held by the ETF custodians.
Gotcha. Yeah, Chris kind of agreed with you in the chat. BB is right. M2 is being unlaundered and deflated.
He can give a better explanation on Saturday.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I got more.
Yeah.
But, okay, let's I was just giving you shit, man. Let's get to the boost, I think. And get to some rants. Hit that thumbs up, everybody. We'd appreciate that. Is there any other stories that we wanted to discuss? Any geopolitics you want to cram in here at the end?
Just a brief 22-minute one. No.
The Syria.
I just saw before the show, the Syria thing, that supposedly Israel and Turkish media report that Donald Trump is planning to finally pull American occupying forces out of Syria. Statements begin with a report by Israel's official public broadcasting. The Trump White House has yet to confirm this. Senior White House officials conveyed a message to their Israeli counterparts indicating that President Trump intends to pull thousands of U.S. troops from Syria. The reason I thought this was interesting is that not only is the U.S. supposedly withdrawing its troops from Syria, the Russians are supposedly withdrawing their equipment from Syria and their ships out of the port, etc. And back during the Syria crisis, many of us had posited that what we're seeing, I mean, it looked an awful lot like Russian maneuver defense, or as Chris often talks about, this could be a current translation or a current story of stuff that happened quite a while ago. And to me, it maps perfectly onto like the Kabul withdrawal. You know, we've talked about that going back to the Doha Agreement. Was that the consummation of the Doha Agreement, even though there were parts of it that were botched? And I think we might be seeing the same thing in Syria. I think that the U.S. and Russian militaries now have perfect narrative cover to completely withdraw from Syria in the aftermath of the gay Afghanis taking it over.
Well, the whole thing was weird if you remember back to then, because what was the guy's name? Assad. Yeah, he like fled to Russia, and then there's like this weird overthrow, and while he's fleeing, the United States is bombing ISIS in Syria, and now everybody's just like, okay, well, let's just all leave Syria. We don't need to be there. Assad's gone. We just bombed ISIS. We can go home now. This is weird. I don't know.
It is weird, and we'll see what happens, but
there's definitely more of the story. Maybe next week we'll bring Ghost on to give us a 125-minute mind map reading of what's going on with that situation. But yeah, certainly
Ghost is great for me because he makes me seem concise.
Yeah, which is difficult to do. Difficult to do. All right. Let's see. We got any boosts, or did you pull these?
By the way, guys, speaking of Ghost and of Ash, they've been doing a ton of work on the Badlands News Brief. It's not just a show on Rumble. It's also on the Substack, badlands.substack.com. You get tons of takes in there. It's good stuff. Ghost might be doing some more stuff on the Substack soon, so it's all good stuff and it's all free.
Yep, and it's also a great way to support Badlands. There's numerous ways. You can subscribe on Rumble. The monthly support is really appreciated. You can subscribe on Substack. I know there's other ways. I think you can subscribe through our website as well. But those are the ways you can subscribe. You can hit the join thing at the bottom of the Rumble video as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I've told people, just as an FYI, you know, there's always processing fees and all this kind of stuff. But Substack is really great about not canceling people. And they basically take a tiny processing fee. So most of your dollar that you guys send through the Substack actually comes to us, which is good. Anyway, boosts. We got Mr. Chemo, $250 sent over a period. I hope that wasn't a mistake, but if it wasn't, then thank you very much. That is crazy.
He did that on a few shows, I think, actually. So
well, then it might not have been a mistake. Thanks a lot. Oh, he supported the Daily Herald. My God.
Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Every day. Weekdays at 1 p.m.
UKQ Patriot, $5. Regarding Executive Order 13961, wouldn't members of the Biden admin have become the Federal Mission Resilience Executive Committee after Trump left office and his cabinet members resigned? Wouldn't Jake Sullivan become National Continuity Coordinator?
No, because he revoked that section of the executive order, so it went back to whoever the National Continuity Coordinator was before that. So no. I'm actually trying to figure out, somebody brought up an interesting point. The wording in that revocation, it almost makes it seem like PPD 40 was replaced, but I can't find anything out there showing it was replaced. Nobody's talking about it being replaced. There's nothing on there. There's no like new national continuity policy. I'm keeping an eye on it. But I would love to see PPD 40 be released, because that's like what Devolution was based on. It's been classified since Obama. So anyway,
they're going on your deathbed. Kash Patel is going to hand you PPD 40, and then
put the pillow over my face
with a single tear streaming down his face, smother you with a MyPillow.
Yeah,
that's how I've written the ending, and I plan to witness it.
And I wouldn't even fight him. I would take it because I got to read that PPD.
The other John Harold, Kash Patel. Is it today that his thingy is? The 30th?
Well, tomorrow. It's still the 29th.
Technically, no. In the one true time zone.
Don't even.
It's already tomorrow.
Don't even.
And we've got one more boost. Abe Froman, $17. Hello, gentlemen. Badlands is my absolute favorite. I wish I had more time in the day so I could watch every show. Here's my question. Patrick Byrne has been really making the rounds the last couple months. What do y'all make of this, if anything?
I do have a thought on this because I do find this interesting. If you think about it, think back to December, or it would have been December of 2020. Trump had a meeting in his Oval Office with, I think, 3 or 4 people. For sure, Byrne was there. Sidney Powell was there. General Flynn was there. And I think Mike Lindell. I don't know if he was in that meeting, but he was in the general area meeting with these people around that time frame. That is where the genesis, we're told, and Sidney Powell confirmed, that the December 16th draft executive order came from, which was never signed, but it talks about basically having a special prosecutor or whatever assigned to looking to see if there was fraud in our elections. They're going to go and they're going to interdict in the elections using the military by confiscating some machines and getting through the source code and all these things. And I believe those are the people that presented that idea. Byrne, Flynn, Powell, and whoever else is in that meeting, maybe Lindell. None of those people are like in Trump's orbit here at the beginning of Trump admin 2.0. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but like they're making the rounds on social media and supporting Trump in that way, which is important as well. But I just thought it was notable. Like none of the people that I would want there in terms of like, hey, let's sort out our election system here, which Trump needs to do at some point. None of those people are there yet. So at some point he needs to bring these people in and do something about the election system. Anyway.
I wanted to share, thanks, shout out to chat for letting me know. Hey, we've got our narrative direction from the boss. The airplane was on a perfect, and this is from Donald Trump for anybody listening, the airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? This is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good.
Interesting.
There you go.
He's putting blame on the helicopter. I don't know if we know for sure.
And the tower.
Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. So what does Trump know? Because he's been briefed on this.
He knows something. So again, this is
he almost
what I'm
makes
saying.
it sound. He almost makes it sound like it was intentional.
Like, oh, for sure. I think that's definitely the implication.
Yeah.
Could have gone up or down. It went in a straight line. Like it looked like a drone almost, a drone helicopter.
There's no such thing, Burning Bright. They're gravitic.
Of course.
Gravitic drones.
Yeah.
Didn't you listen to Sean Ryan?
Building 7.
That was also gravitic drones.
Yeah. But anyway, like we said earlier in the show, it's not about what are the we're never going to know, even when we get the official true central narrative story. But I'm interested in what story Donald Trump is telling, because I believe that Donald Trump tells stories that lead us to the truth. And that story certainly is not leading us into the belief that this was an accident.
Yep. All right. Well, those were the boosts. All right. We got some rants. Let's go through these. Oops. Right off the bat, Micro Tool Maker, $117. Thank you for the generosity, man. Much appreciated. Bernie Bright's got a lot of diapers to buy these next few years. So
that is true.
For himself and probably the kid. But another fantastic day in America. Thanks, Badlands, again, for helping us get to and through these days. Where we go one, we go all. Hey, guys, make sure you tune in tomorrow. We're going to be covering the hearings again, the confirmation hearings. It's great for TV. It's a fun TV show. Eternal Freedom 88. I'm cool with folks saying they were FAA drones, but I'm gonna still say some were angels. Change my mind.
Blue angels?
I'll
you
let
mean
I'll let
like
Patrick
actual angels?
change your mind.
I used to live when we were very poor and I was a small child, the Blue Angels would fly over our house every week. And it was super cool.
Does sound super cool. Astro Emmy, baby meltdowns only last a short time. Learn to enjoy them. Yeah, Bernie, we're just learn to enjoy them.
I love him. He is, everybody who's had a little baby knows it can get maddening, but he's damn cute even when he's super upset. And then when you get him to stop crying, they got those little tears in their eyes. You're just like, come on, little buddy. It's okay.
That's all you do? You don't like give him food?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Just come on, little buddy.
I got him to smile and stuff at me yesterday. Mrs. Bright was jealous.
Do they smile that young yet?
I mean, usually after they're like farting and stuff.
Gas pains, yeah.
Yeah, but I take credit for it. I'm like, I am hilarious.
Sounds like something you'd do. 1027 JS, thanks for helping me get caught up. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate the support. Ed Benson, when will you do GART in a state that actually has the best food in the country? GART, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, or New Orleans, if y'all could handle it, would be one hell of a crawfish boil. I am not going to New Orleans until they get their terrorism under control. I do not want to be hit by a pickup truck while I'm celebrating GART.
Ed. But other than that, I want some of Grandma's gumbo. I want gumbo. I want a Louisiana black lady to make me gumbo in a regular kitchen.
What do you mean?
It's not supposed to be racist. It's just a fact. It's probably good. It's an imaginary fact I created in my head. But yeah, Louisiana seems cool. I definitely want to go there. That would be a great place for a GART, I think.
I disagree.
Really? Have you been there?
No, I'm not going until we deport all the illegals. You got a lot of deportation to get done before we go to some of these places.
Go to a jazz bar, have some gumbo, and
we're gonna stay in the heavy Republican areas as best we can.
Ash, she has to be black because that's who makes the best gumbo. Okay, I'm trying to bring her up.
That part was racist.
Ash was probably the type of lady that was in favor of removing Aunt Jemima from the pancake box. She worked that hard to get there, and then they took her off.
Yeah. Trump will bring him back. That's one of the executive orders we're waiting on. Trump reinstating Aunt Jemima onto the.
Spotzel tells me that I want a white Cajun, not a Creole, if I want gumbo.
Well, I wish you best of luck trying to figure out what race you need to make you your gumbo.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm not entirely sure what gumbo is, but
and I feel like I
feel like it would be good. I feel like it's yummy.
Whatever. Let's just keep going with the rants. We've lost the plot here. Tennessee Flower Girl, first time ranting. Well, thank you. My husband and I love y'all and have been silent listeners from the start. Please come to Chattanooga for a GART. We're young parents and having 5 kids makes it hard to travel far. See, that's a reason. I would go to Chattanooga because there's some young people that want to come hang out at GART. I don't want to go somewhere just for crawfish.
Yeah, right. I don't like the idea of crawfish. That's why I keep diverting to gumbo.
Yeah.
Right. We should call our chat Chattanooga from now on.
Chattanooga. Sup, my Nagas? Just like that, the video from around from Christmas. So funny. Jurdo Gok. I think it's perfect that he is sending illegals to Gitmo. The illegals make a nice cover when they bring the big fish there.
Right.
Maybe.
We still need like AOC to repurpose her crying at the fence images in a rowboat or something around Gitmo.
A rowboat.
Just crying with a life jacket on.
She can be on a crawfish fishing boat,
right,
or something. That'd be fitting. Is that how they even get? I don't even know how they catch.
I think they just walk around in little rivers and pick them up under rocks. I'm from New England.
Way.
If I'm gonna eat seafood, it's got to be like New England ocean seafood. You can't be eating river fish down there. I don't
know how they do it.
Don't mess around with river stuff.
By the way, we can't. I saw you put this in the private chat. We got to remember to raid Brad's.
Yes.
show.
Brad's going to be talking about the Hilo crash. I'm told there's a presser. He's probably going to get you all caught up on that stuff. So Brad is your night owl.
Yep. Jurdo, where am I at? James Klain. I can't stand Sam Altman. He gives me bad vibes. We don't even know if that guy's real. Like, he could just be AI for all we know.
Could be.
Again, James
Gives
Klain.
a lot of people bad vibes.
Yeah. It's very difficult to get a job in 6 months. It took my daughter 11 months to find a job. Okay, you sold me. We should extend the 8 months to 11 months instead.
Yep. Done deal.
Up north soon. But if they didn't offer this 8 months, they might not have as many leave if it was only 2 to 3 months. Maybe. I get the arguments for it. I'm just saying, selfishly, I would love to get also an 8-month salary. That'd be cool. I would take it if the government's just handing them out. But nope. Boomer 444. Helicopter that crashed into a plane an hour ago in DC had call sign Pat 25. We're gonna decode the plane. Just a little too soon, Boomer, for me. We'll see. Dragonfly Sister, just for using the word dastardly. LOL. Love you both. Thanks for all the excellent input.
I don't know who said it, but it was probably me. I like that word. I enjoy
You
it.
do love that word. You should say more often, because apparently we get $50 when you do.
Right. Well, thank you, Dragonfly.
It's quite dastardly.
I'm also getting quite a bit of support about like Black Lady Gumbo in the kitchen. So, I mean, it's not just my fantasy.
Well, fantasy isn't the word I'd probably use. But you do you. It's quite dastardly, though, that anytime you say the word dastardly, $50 appears. So I'm going to test this theory until it's proven wrong. Boomer 444. Unfortunately, 60 presumed deceased from the plane and 3 from the helicopter presumed deceased. Please pray. Yeah, we talked about this at the beginning. Definitely keeping them all in our prayers. Boomer 444. Pat 25. A day before someone's confirmation hearing. We'll see. Kim Navilis.
Connection there? I don't understand.
Well, people are thinking, like, what if somebody's on the plane coming in to testify? Or what if it's... We don't know. It's sad, for sure. Kim Navilis. Think of the jobs report narrative the news could put out if all 2 million left at the same time.
That's what I'm getting at. I think that, Trump is walking a tightrope, and if he
doesn't care about job reports numbers now. He's not trying to get reelected.
No, but they can blame a flash crash on things he does.
But here's the thing with a flash crash, it doesn't matter as long as he has a solution to pull us out of the flash crash with a flash uncrash, a flash rebound. He doesn't give a shit about what the media is going to say and what people are going to think about. Nobody's going to remember a very short stint of a flash crash if within the year or two after that we're all flying around on Tesla cars that fly themselves using AI to do everything. Like, if we're doing some golden age shit, nobody's going to care about a minor flash crash. What?
Rachel Maddow will care.
Okay.
And we have to think of her. If we don't bring her with us, then what was all this for?
But we've talked about Trump for Trump's first term and the first year and a half or two of Biden's time in office. Trump had to operate in the battle space presented by the left. Trump is no longer doing that. He doesn't care about the battle space they put forth because they don't really have one. He can operate and do whatever the hell he wants, and he's already shown he's going to do that. And I don't think he cares about the optics of a flash crash or any of that stuff. I don't think he really cares.
The more we talk about it, the more I think that the off-ramp is meant for federal employees who are not ideologues, who are going to be forward-thinking and take the deal and then become productive members of society. And the ones that don't take the deal are ideologues who do not think Trump is going to fire them. So if that's why the decision was made, then I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah, we'll see how many take it and
see
how the rest of it goes afterwards. But anyway, Gamble 808, BB, one word, diaper genie, trust me, bro. I tried that thing and I was not a fan. The thing was...
Is that the, like, what is that?
It's like a garbage bin with a bag in it.
I have 2 of those.
Yeah, 2 of them. That seems excessive. But anyway, you open it up, throw the diaper in.
Yeah, you didn't like it?
I don't know. Maybe I just had a shitty one, no pun intended. But the thing always smelled like poop, whether like you could be completely empty. I just didn't like it. Technology must have advanced quite a bit.
Right. Yeah. We've got some pretty advanced diaper genies. So
Sounds nice.
I'm
Must
in
be
favor
nice.
of the diaper genie gamble. Good call.
The real Mega Mama. BB, congrats on BB2. John, I was so proud of Badlands today. 3 live shows at the same time. That was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Thank you.
Blue 7i. Please have Gart in Toronto to underscore Canada as the 51st state of the USA. Thanks both. Thank you for the rant, but I can promise you we will not be going to Canada.
They're waiting for me at the border.
Yeah. We'll never be able to come back.
Yeah.
Matt Eric can host his own like solo little powwow up there for us. Boomer 444, his last name is Pat L. I get where you're going, but
it's a stretch.
It is a little bit of a stretch.
It's a stretch.
Ozark Plowboy, C1 do on Dastardly. Wow. Look at
that. That was the key the whole time.
Can you imagine the empire we'd have as a media company right now if we had known that all we had to do is say
it has to be organic.
Dastardly.
Right.
We'll see if this carries on. We'll let the team know.
There's a lot of Dastardly stuff going on, so I think.
And then Boomer 444, Pat 25 call sign crash a day before Cash Patel's hearing is suspect. I get where you're going, man.
I get it. I just think it's a stretch. There's a lot of things that have PAT, like Patriot.
What else?
Eternity.
What else?
Patent.
You said lots of things. I want to hear more.
Patina. Or is that how you spell patina?
I don't know.
I don't know. Patrick 25.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Patty.
You're on a roll, man. I didn't know knew so many words that started with Pat.
So I'm not trying to debunk you too hard there, Boomer, but you've been debunked, I think.
But in your face. You should start a show like where all you do is sit there for an hour and say words that start with Pat.
It's pretty much what I do.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, yeah, Cash Patel. That should be interesting. I wonder if he's going to get any John Harold questions.
Ooh, could you imagine him getting a Did you?
They'll be like, so you wrote the Devolution series, and in your series it says this.
No, that guy was just grifting off my name.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Never has a Western man grifted off of a Pakistani. Is that what he is?
He's Indian.
He's Indian?
Oh my gosh.
Pakistani.
You are the worst.
Just kidding.
We're gonna get hate for this now too.
He's Japanese, I think. Probably makes a mean gumbo.
Dead to me.
Whatever gumbo is.
I don't have an outro. How do we not have like a set outro for this? I need to take the time and do that. Are there any good videos we can play?
Cash's dad is Ugandan. See? He doesn't even know what he is. All I know is...
Somebody give me a video.
Does he enjoy crawfish?
Oh, here, let's do this. Bernie, you got to hear the Bernie Sanders onesie line of questioning today. He was like, so funny. He's grilling. Yeah, we'll play this. This is funny. Are you supportive of these onesies? All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see you on the coverage tomorrow. Head over to Brad's show, and we're going to rate it here shortly after this video. So we'll send you over there. And then tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, I'll be doing the Daily Herald, and we'll go from there. So we'll catch you all later.
They are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unfaxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market? Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board. That was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call. Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blackburn.
Thank you so much.